Anyway, how you doing, Freddie? I watch your show. I think it's very interesting. I'm watching your podcast, man. Doing a good job.
Let's get it going.
Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, the heart machine. What do I mean by that? Happy Thursday, Throwback Thursday, folks. I posted some stuff for you to go back and look at. Good evening. How you doing, Maddie? How's everything? How you been? Hope all is well. Let's talk about the heart machine. And I'm talking about Corazon Pineda Isaac, of course, and the machine that's behind Corazon Pineda Isaac. So maybe I was wrong, and I do like to correct myself when I'm wrong, right? Initially, I thought that possibly Corazon was working with the Spanos, to kind of hold off any real opposition, to the mayor's seat. And she was maybe wasting these resources from these individuals that wanted to see Mike Spano out. But, as I've learned more recently, maybe that's not the case. And maybe I understand why she feels more confident breaking away from the Spanos and going off and saying, hey, I'm going to make a real run for it because I have certain individuals behind me. So I wanted to, start also by saying that I don't dislike Corazon. I don't hate Corazon. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate I don't hate Spano. I don't hate Vinny Spano, any of the Spanos. I don't hate any of the elected officials. I simply make my assessment on what I see, information I receive, and I put it out to the public. I want to bring transparency. And so if I do a podcast at someone, it's not because I dislike them or I hate them, I should say, or even dislike them, right? I don't dislike them. And someone even made it, was kind of laughing not too long ago because I actually had reached out to Corazon Pineda Isaac very recently to, have a sit down and see what, her goals were for the future of Yonkers if she were to become mayor, let's say, because I'm looking to be, united with people for, the positive change, for a positive, outcome to this election, one that I think would benefit the people, because that's ultimately what it's about. It's about the people. And so that is why I do the podcast and I say what I say on the podcast. And sure, I may have had my, maybe I guess personal issues with certain individuals because my family may have been attacked. And, I would hope that people who are, family men and women and, who have children and wives and husbands would understand how that would affect, me, because that is individuals that I love most, that I hold dearly, I love dearly, I should say, in this world. They mean everything to me. And so I can take the shots. But when it comes to my children and my wife, it's a little different. But beside that, for the most part, it's been about politics and being fair and honest and balanced and wanting to see what is best for our city. As someone who loves Yonkers as much as I do, I truly want to see what is best for our city, right? So that's why I do these podcasts, and I'm doing the podcast tonight. The heart machine, right? So I'm not about supporting people just because there's a possible gain for me, right? And some individuals were saying, hey, Freddie, maybe you should lay off on Corazon. And I don't think that I've been hard on Corazon, really. I think I haven't mentioned Corazon a whole lot, as not compared to Tasha, right? Or maybe even I spoke a little bit more about Lakeisha, though I've been kind of light on her, but John Rubo has gotten a lot of my, my podcast a bit about him. I've spoken about Breen, obviously the mayor and the Spanos, but Corazon, I have not really spoke about her a whole lot anyway. And so, I did reach out and she didn't seem to be receptive to that. And that's fine. I get it. Right. And so I'll move on. But individuals say, maybe you should lay off and, see what becomes of that. I'm not looking for any favors. I'm not looking for any benefits. I'm not. And I just want to make that very clear. And maybe that's why sometimes people don't understand what I'm doing, because maybe they think that I want something. And what I want is what's best for the people of Yonkers. What I want is a government that represents the people and their interests. That's what I want. That's my agenda. Ultimately, that's my goal, right? I don't need this politics stuff, having my family attacked and, all the mess that's come with it. But I see how much there is a need for a people's champion, someone to advocate for the people, someone to go out there in the street and show what the problems actually are. Like today, when we had some water spillage leaking, from somewhere, had a funny smell and had been there for days. One more problem that would have been left there for another however long if maybe I hadn't come along and said something about it. So that's what I want to see, right? That's my agenda. So today, the Corazon machine, Corazon, right? She's running for mayor. Everybody says she has a great shot at beating Mike Spann in the primary. I say, Freddie, you just don't have what Corazon has, which is the machine. The machine. I don't have what Corazon has, the machine. There's a Spano machine. We know about that machine. I've spoken about that. People talk about that machine. But do we know about the heart machine? And this is a group of individuals that want to remove the Spanos out of power here in Yonkers. And maybe that has to do a little bit with the fact that they know the Spanos may be eyeing the county. They want to take over the county Democratic Party, but Susan Berger, the chair of the Westchester Democratic Party, along with others, ain't having that. And so they know they have to weaken the Spanos, and they do that by taking him out. And so who's their candidate of choice? Corazon Pineda Isaac, the councilwoman of the 2nd District. Corazon was first elected in 2013 and has served 2 full terms so far and is going into the 2nd year of her 3rd term. They extended 3 terms. And obviously, she's not going to be running for a 4th, or possibly if she doesn't win, right? She hails from Brooklyn, where some say she still lives, and she crosses the bridge there 3-4 times a week to live with her husband, who actually still there in Brooklyn. They say a stay-at-home dad who stays with the kids, while Corazon is a councilwoman here in Yonkers and also works up at the county. She does some business development there alongside George Latimer, right? Corazon has a Bachelor of Science from the Long Island University in finance, and then she went on to become a stockbroker. She did that for a short time, but then in 2012, she went to do that, and then in 2013, she became the county councilwoman, for the 2nd District. But she also worked on George Latimer's campaign. So that's how she got her feet wet, started to cut her teeth, I'd say, in politics alongside George Latimer, who I will get into in a minute, who's one of the individuals that's a part of this machine, right? She was also a Democratic district leader. Corazon was a Spano supporter, right, in most cases, and in the beginning was very close to the Spanos, right? In fact, in 2021, Corazon, then running for re-election against no one really, was being supported by the Spanos. They helped her raise money, and they attended her events, right? And she was, very close to them. It was at these events that I would see Corazon, and how she was with the Spanos, very close to the family. I'll just leave it at that. However, for some reason, Corazon and Tasha Diaz never really got along, and some say that's because of Tasha's jealousy of how close Corazon Pineda Isaac was with the Spanos and the mayor specifically, right? And so, when Corazon announced that she was running for mayor, I was very surprised because I thought they were cool, they were tight, and so I was a little wary about it. I wasn't sure if it was a real legitimate run, right? But Corazon has this machine, and what I've come to learn is that it is. Right? So she decided to break away from the Spano, having the confidence that certain individuals at the county level and at the state level will be supporting her in this campaign, in this run for mayor. And who does she have? Well, she has a lot of individuals, and I'll name some, but that's not all. One is Senator Cousins, George Latimer, Ken Jenkins, Chris Johnson, the Westchester County Democratic Party, specifically Suzanne Berger. It looks like they have put a coalition together to give this election a real shot to take out Mike Spano. Essentially, what you have is another machine, the heart machine, right? Another machine. And this machine is designed to take control, to take political control of Yonkers. So if Corazon wins and becomes mayor, what will that look like? Who will really be in control of Yonkers? And will we see a difference in the direction that Yonkers is heading? Will much change? Will it just simply be one machine and now another? Individuals with political power controlling Yonkers with agendas that serve their own goals. I'll mention a little bit more about Suzanne Berger in a minute. Just to be clear, again, this is an anti-Corazon podcast, but a pro-people podcast. I'm for the people. It seems that we, the people, are the least thought of variable in this entire political equation. It's all about the group seeking power and less about the people, which are the ones who vote. And the reason we have representatives to begin with, why they have a job, why they serve a purpose. Over the years, it feels like politics has been hijacked by self-serving individuals with agendas that satisfy their goals. And I'm afraid that's what we have here as well. Again, two wings of the same bird here in Yonkers, dirty and corrupt. Yeah, and I say that a lot. Two wings of the same bird, right? And you see that ever seen that logo, the eagle with the double head, the two-headed eagle, right? That's really essentially what it represents. Have you noticed Anthony Moranti has been silent so far? I hear he's out there collecting petition signatures, also petition signatures for the term limit, right? So he's out there, but I haven't heard him say a whole lot. I don't know if he's waiting. Again, he doesn't have a primary, so he doesn't really have to do a whole lot now. I would imagine he would become more vocal come, closer to the general election. That's what I imagine. Corazon has Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. In fact, Andrea Stewart-Cousins' campaign management firm is actually the one that's working with Corazon. Their strategist is working with Corazon. This is what's giving people confidence. She has Cousins people working with her. She also has George Latimer working alongside with her. He is the current county executive. She has Ken Jenkins, who is the deputy executive, who was appointed by George Latimer. And of course, she has Westchester County legislator Christopher Johnson working with her as well. But I want to talk about the Westchester County Democratic Party, right? I want to talk about them. And really quick, I've heard that Andrea Stewart-Cousins doesn't get involved in primaries. That's what people told me, but I don't believe that that's true. I'm sure she's involved, is more behind the scenes, and I'm sure she's pushing for Corazon. And now you may remember Andrea Stewart-Cousins and the Spanos have had this beef for a long time now, going back to 2004, when she felt that she was cheated out of the election when Zahi Jarris's sister, Susan Salem, found some ballots somewhere in a duffel bag, and those ballots were enough to give Nick Spano the win for senator. However, she would come back, 2 years later, and she would beat Nick Spano that time, and then she would remain where she's at. She is the majority leader, Senator Cousins, up there in Albany, right? So she's definitely supporting Corazon. So that's very powerful. That's giving people a lot of confidence that she can do this. She can win, right? So that's one person. Susan Berger, however, I want to talk about her. And by the way, I posted some stuff about George Latimer, some issues he had with, an affair and a car crash. He also wasn't paying some tickets in Yonkers, so they suspended his registration for a while, and then he got caught driving. He was actually in the accident without, it wasn't in his car because his registration had been suspended. So he's had some issues there. I posted that up as Throwback Thursday information there. But George Latimer has never lost an election. He is undefeated. And he's served in many office positions. He's been an assemblyman. He's been a senator as well. He's been a county legislator. He also served as the chair of the County Democratic Party as well. He was a councilman up in Rye. So he's done a lot of different political positions. He's done it all, and now he's the current county executive. But Susan Berger took over after Reggie Lafayette, who has served 16 years as the chair of the Westchester County Democratic Committee. You may remember Reggie Lafayette. I mentioned him in a recent podcast, and he had passed away. Maybe 2 years ago, he's passed away. Now I'm not sure. So, but he held it down for 16 years. And really quick, some fun facts. In Westchester County, Dems outdo Republicans 2-1. There are more Democrats than Republicans, 2-1. Susan Berger led the town committee. Let me start with her. Susan Berger was the first actually Westchester County Democratic chair. She's the first woman Democratic chair. A liberal before it was fashionable, again, took over from Reggie Lafayette. And so she's probably going to be instrumental in this strategy that Corazon is putting out, with the whole women's movement, the first, woman mayor, the first Latina, the Afro. So they're going to play heavily on the sex thing and the, Afro Latina and the race thing. It's going to be a lot about identity politics, something that I really don't like, but this is what it seems like it's going to be. Susan Berger led the town committee in Greenburgh, which is Westchester County's largest town. In Westchester County, there are 650,000 registered Democrats, right? And so she received a lot of support from a coalition for legal abortion. So Susan Berger is huge when it comes to abortion. She's a big advocate for it. And I'll tell you a little bit more of stuff that she's done here. So she just narrowly beat her opponent. I forgot the guy's name, but she beat him, and she got a lot of support from a coalition for legal abortion, which she's all about women's rights, right? She again a huge abortion advocate. And while in Greenburgh, she got all the Greenburgh candidates that were running for office to interview with Choice Matters. So they wanted to determine whether these candidates were truly committed to women's rights. But I don't see how that would, identify whether or not they were committed to women's rights. I don't think that abortion has a, correlation to women's rights. Just because you may not be for abortion, or just because you're against abortion, doesn't mean you don't believe that women should have, equal rights, right? Now that, so that I'm just saying there's no correlation there, but they always make it about women's rights. Susan Berger, in my opinion, is part of the woke crowd, right? She's part of the woke, super liberal crowd. And I'm just concerned if we see a Corazon, administration, will it be one of these super woke liberal crowds? And not that, I don't agree with some of the things that they are for, but sometimes they Sorry, I just want to make sure that, hold on one second. I'm having issues with my headphones here. Hello, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 testing. Sorry, again. So she's a super liberal. And so are we going to see an administration that is extremely liberal, part of the woke crowd, all about, fighting for abortion rights and, making everything about race and bail reform? Again, folks, that's one of the issues that we've been complaining about here, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Bail reform. This is the bail reform crowd, right? But they talk about fighting for equal rights for groups who have been marginalized, but they do very little for these groups, right? I love this crowd, this super liberal crowd. They always talk about race as a minority. Trust me, I know. They don't do much for us, but they love using us for their gain, right? They love talking about us. They do really very little, to fully understand the root causes of these issues that they are always speaking up about, but use them to gain support from these groups. According to the women's WCLA, I forgot what that stands for, president, Westchester County, something abortion president, Berger is a forceful voice for the rights of all, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, disability, financial fortitude, or gender identity, right? Let's start with race, however. What has Berger done to support improvement within the Black community or Hispanic community? Now, you're running a Hispanic woman, right? You're utilizing us for your gain. The Westchester County Democrats, NOU, right? What have you actually done for our communities? Your forceful voice is she is putting her machine behind an Afro-Latina using identity politics. But what will she really do for blacks, for Hispanics? Here in Yonkers, the most marginalized group, the two groups that have been impoverished forever here in Yonkers. How will you change that? What have you done? What? At the end of the day, Corazon will take orders from Latimer and the Burger Camp instead of the Spano. So that's the only difference. So we have to understand the individuals that are behind her, the machine that is behind her, that will have huge influence on politics here in Yonkers and the way the city is run, right? Berger is a big advocate for abortion and race. Does she know that Black women have the highest rate of abortion at 38.4%? Of all abortions here in the United States, 38.4%. White women come in second at 33.4%. The difference is white population is at 78%, whereas blacks are 12%, 13, maybe 14% in the country, yet they are 38% of all abortions. So what do these super liberals that advocate so much for abortion and call it women's rights are going to do to lower that rate, especially in the Black communities? What? And so what are Westchester Democrats doing so that many Black women don't have to be in a situation where they feel that an abortion is the right thing to do? How can we reduce the rate? That's what we should be talking about. I'm all for letting women choose to do whatever they want with their body, and anyone who doesn't want the vaccine to choose that they don't want to inject some foreign substance into their body. I'm all for that. I support it. It's your business. But what I don't support is constantly focusing on having people who have the right to have abortions, promoting the abortion, and not finding out what the root cause of this is and how do we reduce the need for abortions to begin with. Because it's a tragic or traumatic experience for women to go through many times. And the numbers, the statistics, are alarming. 38.4% among Black women. So what are we doing to change that? Most babies being killed are Black. And so there are many Black advocates out there who actually say that the biggest, threat to Black people is abortion. I don't know if you guys ever heard some of these individuals speak, some of these Black leaders speak. Instead, we should be finding ways to reduce that number. That's what they should be doing, but they don't. But they'll use this all day long to gain political power, to gain political edge, to gain political support. Sure, no one should tell someone else what to do with their bodies, not even when it comes to the vaccine. But why isn't it that the goal is to reduce the number of abortions or the need for abortions, right? Let's get it to where it's done, because it's those rare cases where someone is raped, incest, or health complications, because those are the rare cases. The majority of the cases are people who just cannot have a child, that they can't support it financially. I was almost aborted. Think my father just, told my mother we could do this, even though they were in a situation they probably couldn't, but I'm here. And so, but again, it's anyone's choice. My point is that if you care about having a woman's right, you care about race, Black women have this alarming rate of abortions. What are you doing in the Black community to reduce this rate? This is what I mean about the super liberals, how they talk a good game, but don't play a good game. We do this by improving the school districts in mostly Black communities, or in districts where the population of the school district, the school student body is mostly Black and Hispanic. That's how we do it, by providing a quality education so that they improve their economic status. They get to a point where when they have kids, they're not saying, I need to have an abortion. I can support my child. I can take care of this baby. I'm not in a situation where I can't. It would be nearly impossible. That's how we reduce that number. And that's what you should be talking about. So where's that? I don't hear that. What about job creation? Right? While Corazon has been on the council, she has not fought hard enough for our schools or for more jobs here in the city of Yonkers. It's a shame with such close ties to Andrea Stewart Cousins, George Latimer, and Ken Jenkins, she wasn't advocating for more school funding. Senator Cousins is the Senate Majority Leader and also close with Shelley Mayer, who is the Education Committee Chair. Why hasn't Corazon been more vocal while leveraging these connections for our kids? Isaac has also approved all of the mayor's and zoning board's changes while approving projects that are not hiring local labor, not hiring the Blacks and Hispanics of this community or anyone from this community. The average resident makes $35,000 a year, but nothing has been done to help with financial fortitude, which is what Susan Berger says she fights for. What programs have been set up to help residents better understand how to manage and build their finances so that they don't have to rely on the government and so that they can take care of their children instead of deciding to abort them? What the voters should know is that the machine behind Corazon is no better, it seems. What they are is more polished, better spoken, more educated, possibly. But one thing remains the same. The people, the voters, the constituents are not the priority. This has been the most discouraging thing to me throughout this process. I genuinely want to represent the people of the city I love in an honest and fair manner. However, politics doesn't operate that way. Even the good guys are not always good, if ever. So much is being talked about in these elections except what it is the people want. My hope is to be the mayor that will listen to the people. Instead of focusing on the issues and discussing how to work to solve these issues, we spend most of the time talking about who is working with who has whose support, or what campaign strategists they have, what money do they have, how much money do they have, how many people showed up at their event. But it's never about the people. How do you plan on addressing the needs of the people of the city, along with addressing the problems that the city has, such as a dilapidated school system, the rising cost of living, a sewage system that backs up in people's homes and all over the place, causing flooding, rising crimes, and fires, now resulting in deaths. There are so many logistical problems along with economic and social problems here in Yonkers, yet none of it seems to matter to those two candidates. Insiders say to the two candidates that insiders say have the best shot. None of it matters to them. Simply because they have a well-oiled machine that has a system in place to nab not only the petitions quickly, but the votes, does not mean that this is the legitimate choice. We, the people, should be the ones making the decision on who will be our next mayor. Not a machine, not political outsiders, but the people of the city of Yonkers. So the result will remain the same. Those that win do so because they had a machine that cares not what the people want, but what those who have created that machine want. Unless the people become a machine themselves, the people will never see a candidate that is truly for them. The people will never be the priority, and the people will never see a city that they dream of or dream for, long for. This is disheartening and discouraging. It's not about the people, it's fake. It's all about building these alliances with people, even if you don't agree with them, in order to get ahead. That's not how I operate. Internally, that's not how I work. If I see something that's not right, I have to speak out and say something. And that doesn't help me out when it comes to certain people or a lot of people in politics, because it's a very hush hush type of business where people say one thing publicly and do another thing privately. And so the people at the end of the day, we get shafted. We don't get anything unless we disrupt that system. And we do that by voting for the candidate that will represent the people, the candidate that the people want. You know, you can write in a candidate. People say that would be impossible. But I say that would be showing that the people are the ones that are in charge. And so this November, we should write in the candidate we want. That's who we should vote for. Let's not be forced to choose candidates that have been placed in front of us by well-oiled machines with agendas that don't include the people. It's time we take back our government. We have to do it. We, the people. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I appreciate you joining me today. The double-headed eagle represents empire. Hey, Fred, what's going on with the bankruptcy auction, the prime real estate? Is this a land grab? A lot of construction deals under Spano. I question everything. Yes, it's definitely a land grab. There are a lot of homes going up that should be going up for public auction that are not. They're being kept as these pocket listings, and they're buying them cheap, way under market value. And I've talked about that. Yes, it will be, Freddie. No women should have the right to take life. Roe versus Wade was based on a lie. That is true. That is true. The only reason why I say that a woman has a right to do is because I believe that everyone has the right to do whatever the hell they want, excuse my language, as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of another person. That's what I believe. So as long as what you do doesn't affect me or someone else and what they wanted, their rights or their freedom or their, ability to exist, then you can do that. I shouldn't have a say in that, even if I don't agree with it. That's your business. But you're right though. It was based on a lie, and even the doctor, I believe, there was one guy who really pushed for it. Toward the end, before he died, a few years before he died, he started really fighting against abortion, and he was the guy that really brought it to the United States and made it possible, with the Roe versus Wade. And he said that was the biggest mistake that Americans have ever done. That's what he said. Is the guy who was responsible for making abortion legal in the United States, changed his mind, changed the way he felt about it after many years, and said it was the biggest mistake Americans have ever made. And you can go look that up. All right. But again, I'm not here to judge. And, abortion is not something that is a problem here in Yonkers that's affecting Yonkers. It's not affecting our schools. It's not affecting our roads. It's not affecting, So this is something that, it's more of a national thing. As far as Yonkers, what we need to do is focus on our education. That's number one. And actually, that's how we help improve that situation with abortion. When those that are having the abortion are getting educated and going on to be successful adults, they're less likely to have abortions. So we have to get to the root cause of the problem. And that's what I believe. All the winners. Freddie, it's more like 65% white. There's reasons 79% of people are in PPP are inner cities where black and brown populations are highest. Margaret Sanger believe in eugenics. Yes, that's true. And a lot of black leaders will talk about this. It was a targeted thing, in black communities. It's an epidemic, yeah. But that people don't see it that way, and they've kind of spun it into women's rights. They tied women's rights with it when it has nothing to do with women's rights, right? But they forced us to take a vaccine. Well, what about our rights? What about human rights, right? If you know, right, the same people that say you can't take away abortion because that's women's rights, we're forcing you to get vaccines. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, that's the hypocrisy. I don't get that. Blows my mind, but it's the world we live in. Freddie, do you know who Margaret Sanger was? No. I may have to look it up. Maybe I read about it. I probably forgot, but no, it doesn't come to the top of my head right now. The CDC targeted Black communities with the vaccine. Why? Population control. Yeah. Black communities have been targeted with a lot of things, drugs, right? And other things, they've done testing in Black communities with they sprayed chemicals over Black communities to see what effects those chemicals would have on the people. And they did that in Black communities. Syphilis, they purposely gave Black syphilis, the Tuskegee experiments. It's very sad. Our current elected officials' goal is not to resolve problems, but to give just enough to the voter to have them coming back for more. Exactly. Just one more term and they will get it done. What a joke. Yes. And then you vote for the other machine. I'm going to get it done because I'm a Afro-Latina, because I'm a woman. So I'm definitely going to get it done for the people. I know I've been there for 12 years. I know I haven't said a whole lot, done a whole lot, but I promise you, as mayor, I will. Guaranteed. As Tasha says, beggars. Yeah. It takes more than good financial standing to lower the abortion rate. Well, I don't know the direct answer to lowering the abortion rate, so I can't say that's all the way true and you're wrong and I'm right. But what I'm saying is that a lot of women that get abortion because they are not in a financial space, or their life is not in a place where they can have a baby, right? The situation with my mother, she was incarcerated at the time. Other people just don't have a job. I don't have money. The child's father's not there. So if they focus on an education, right, if we provide more in terms of education and resources for young kids so they can get engaged, right, they'll most likely fall into doing something like that. That's not going to be where their life heads, right? It'll head in a different direction, right? There's more probability of them heading in a better, direction where, they won't have to make these type of choices. That's what I'm saying, right? If you look at certain communities where they have, better educational systems, you're going to have less of this happening. It's just a fact. The high school I graduated from, I think in 4 years, just about that I was there, I think I saw two fights, where I was coming from in Yonkers, where I was seeing a fight every day, 2 fights a day sometimes, so, there were less kids getting in trouble, less kids there going, and it didn't matter if you were Black or Hispanic, right? There were a lot, Hispanic and Blacks there also. And a lot of them were very successful, went on to go on to be successful, right? They didn't look, they weren't, like I was a kid coming from the hood where, statistically, we're not going to, get out of this, right? So I always had that fear in my mind, like I'm going to be in the hood. I don't want to be in the hood forever. Blacks and Hispanics out in, other areas, like where I went to high school in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they weren't worried about that. They just assumed naturally I'm going to be successful, because they saw that, you see Black and Hispanic parents, together, mom and dad, that was more the norm. So it was a real culture shock, I guess, for lack of a better word. It was a culture shock for me to see that, right? And I felt like, like the ugly duckling, I guess, right? Or like the redheaded stepchild, because I was Hispanic, but I still wasn't like the other Hispanics, and I wasn't like the Blacks, because I still couldn't relate to them. Even though I was Hispanic, it was still harder to relate, because they had mom and dad, they were thinking about college, they were doing all this stuff that I had just never even thought about or wasn't into, or whatever. So it was a unique experience, it was a learning experience, and it taught me a lot, and that's where I realized that it doesn't matter your skin color. That's not what's going to make you be able to connect with people. It's your experiences, right? And a lot of it really is class. It's based on money, right? And so I just happened to go to an area where It was an more affluent area. I wouldn't say super rich, but the middle class, upper middle class, and there were a lot of successful Black families and a lot of successful Hispanic families. And that was just something that I was not used to seeing. Right, I was just used to seeing mostly white people be successful, and so that it does something for you psychologically. As a Hispanic, it says you can make it. Right, so you can make it, and that makes me emotional because that's one of the reasons why so many kids don't break the cycle of poverty, because they don't see that. They don't see that. They don't believe it's possible to make it. And so what they do see though is entertainment, right? So we're talking about these movie studios and Hollywood and the hustle right now. I don't hate them. It's just a false hope, right? Because she has some may here and there, but it's a false hope, right? And even the kids in the that come from where I come from, what do we see? We see celebrities. We see entertainers, rappers, movie stars, maybe some athletes. And then so they wear the chains and all that, like the drug dealers used to do back in the day. So then they took on this style. So now, kids that come from where I come from idolize them. And what do they want to be? They want to be a rapper, or they want to be, maybe a basketball player, and at least in sports, but then they don't even have a good sports program for them here either, right? And so, what do they see? They're not seeing doctors and lawyers, right? They're not seeing that. They're not seeing business owners, right? They're not seeing people in finance and things like that, right? People getting into real estate. So they don't know about buying real estate. It's an investment. It's a great asset. And why you should be buying up real estate now. Why you think they're buying up all the real estate? They're about to crash. The bank's about to crash. The dollar's going to be done. So everybody that knows what's up, put their money into the real estate, because real estate is going to remain, the same. Tangible asset, and whatever currency we convert to, still going to have that value, and even might even be more value. So, it's just so much that our city lacks. And Corazon, she talks about that. I want to share that here real quick. She talks about what she plans to do, what she's done as a council person so far, and what she will do as mayor. And again, is she going to be the one that's in charge? It's going to be another, machine running this that has an agenda. As mayor, Corazon will prioritize public education and restore programs like art, music, and sports. Corazon is the city council's champion for affordable housing, and as mayor, she will require developers to set aside 20% of new units for affordable housing. But she never championed 20%. She was always with the 15-15, and then she went along with it when they voted yes on the 20%. But then they obviously, Tasha flip-flopped, and she was saying, well, 20% wasn't doable because, the people were asking, well, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to come back with something else? What's up? Where's this at? And as we see today, it's 2023. This is 2021 when they failed to pass it, and we still have nothing. And what has Corazon said about that? How has she pushed for that? She has not, because she's been approving everything that's been benefiting the developers. So how is she going to help improve this community for Blacks and Hispanics when these developments are the reason many are leaving or can't afford to live here anymore? So you have to see that. Corazon will tackle crime holistically. So holistically, she's going to use some sage, investing in mental health, violence interruption, and community programs. She will make targeted investment in law enforcement, but ensure police are held accountable. These are words. These are words that sound good. But do you understand the problem? I just gave you my life experience. Just from that, I understand why so many of our kids remain impoverished. Why they never break the cycle. And it's a shame that, with such a machine like that, the Westchester County Democrats, you could have interviewed more people and got a better candidate that I think could really, but again, they're probably looking for someone they can just manipulate and control, and that will push their agendas here in Yonkers. And so again, the people are the least thought of, the least considered variable in this whole entire political equation. She secured a $1 million grant to build the Dayspring Community Center, No Dine Hill. But that was given by investors. They wanted that property up there. And she also you know, approved a lot of stuff for them. So yeah, of course they're gonna give you that. And if they get, that was also through Spano stuff. So I mean, created the first landlord database in Yonkers to hold landlord accountable, but it hasn't been passed. So it's still not created, really. It's still not there. But why? And why hasn't she pushed for it? Because there's a lot of people that own property that are prominent, that are slumlords. Secured historic increases in city education funding for the Yonkers public. How so? When? When was this? Because everybody takes claim to this, increase in city education. Everybody has taken claim to this money. Successfully led the fight to equip police officers with body cam. Right. Continues to lead the fight to require 20%, but that's not true. Corazon didn't want 20%. And Corazon hasn't pushed for it. How are you leading the fight for it? In what way? Led the fight to ban the box on employment applications. I thought that was Christopher Johnson. And Christopher Johnson just wasted $600,000. So we can have individuals in there that don't know how to manage money. He gave $600,000 to the Sarah Lawrence facility over there that the developers are about to take over with the help of Ken Jenkins and those are folks at the county. Ken Jenkins and George Latimer, they're moving forward with the developments. They're not going to change anything from what Spano's been doing because this isn't even a Spano deal. This came from Albany. It's Albany. Yonkers, the people Yonkers don't realize that our city is not, it's not in the control of us, the people here. This is outsiders, outside politicians, outside investors, developers. Everybody wants in on Yonkers and they don't care about us. This is our city, Yonkers. People of Yonkers, this is our city. Wake up. Wake up. They're going to use identity politics, the Afro-Latina, to take over, kick the Spanos out. But then you're going to have the Spanos trying to come back after another 4 years, right? Because they're not going to just let it go like that. All the while, the people get screwed. We have to deal with all the mess. How are they going to do this? How is she going to do all this? None of this is true. I mean, unbelievable. Freddie, the game has been rigged since antiquity. Yeah, you're right. That is true. But you're forcing people to reap what they sow. Do nothing and be a victim or be part of the solution. Absolutely. And this is why I can't walk away, because I can. People don't understand what I'm doing because they don't understand what someone who wants to see an honest change is doing, because they've never seen that before. He's got to want something. I don't want anything. I've been fortunate to have certain things, and I've gained and lost things. And, at the end of the day, material things are material things. They come and go. They don't make or break you. They will never bring happiness. They will never bring your loved ones back. But doing the right thing makes you feel good inside forever. Helping other people. Bringing much needed change. That's what I want to do with my life. And that's why I do this. So I don't hate any of these individuals. I'm not crazy. I don't have an agenda, and I don't want anything. I just want for the people of the city of Yonkers to be thought of first. I want them to have leaders that care about them. That's so crazy. Was Black Wall Street a topic for discussion when you attended high school? No, it was not, actually. You would think it was. And you would think that, we would know. It's like having the Statue of Liberty, right? Many people from New York, or at least I've never been there, and I'm from New York. People would always ask me, have you been to the Statue? No, I didn't go. No, you live in New York? No, you take it for granted, right? Black Wall Street, no, is not discussed a whole lot in school. You would think it would be, it should be, especially it's right there, and especially because it's such an important part of, African-American, Black American history. And things like that are just not discussed, I think, intentionally. Imagine showing a group of people what they can achieve They don't want them to know that they can build an entire community on their own, have banks on their own, and not be tied to the central banking system. Create a community that's completely independent of the outside. You create your own ecosystem, your own local businesses, local banks. They took that all away. They nationalized us, then they globalized us, all to control us. And that's what they're doing here in the city of Yonkers on a micro scale. What a joke that lady is. Yeah. Those that dance are taught to be insane by those that can't hear the music. Keep spinning, Mr. DJ. Yeah, that's true. I talk to myself a lot too, but I don't think I'm crazy. I just like to think, why is money awarded to rich kids colleges such as Sarah Lawrence students express? Yeah, so I don't know if I finished that story, but he had gotten a grant for this Sarah Lawrence thing, $600,000 last year. I happened to be there when the guy thanked him for it. And now they're in danger of getting kicked out of there. So it was a waste of grant money. It could have went to something that could have helped the kids of Yonkers with something. Maybe giving it to me. You would have seen the amazing things I would have done. You would have been like, give him more money. Give him more money. That guy know what he's doing. Yeah, that's all I want to do. So I want to help kids break the cycle of poverty. That's it. Instead of creating tech training, coding, and such to our underprivileged minority youth, absolutely. You got these kids in affluent communities, and I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking them, but they're learning things that are going to be beneficial for them in the future. Coding, computer engineering, right? This stuff is important. This is where the future is headed. And we don't have anything like that in the schools. Our kids are going to get left behind. The competition for jobs is becoming harder, it's tougher and tougher as more and more jobs, are eliminated due to automation, artificial intelligence. There's going to be the scarcity for high-paying jobs, for good-paying jobs, and it's going to be competitive. And so if your children are not prepared for that future, they will surely get left behind. They will be part of the new serfs, right? This new feudal system, I'm afraid that we're going to be living in. I talk to myself often whenever I need expert advice. Some might say you're a narcissist with making that comment. You would have to think that you're an expert at everything. That's funny. But I've been called that also. But, I think sometimes people just throw that word around. But yeah, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm the guy that wants to represent the people. But this system is rigged, as someone said, James said, since antiquity. And therefore, it's difficult for just anyone to truly win because it's so rigged. To get signatures on your petition, you have to have a machine in place that's ready to go at midnight on February 28th. You have to have people in strategic locations, strategic buildings that are going to go around collecting the signatures for you. And so when Corazon joined this new coalition, maybe it's not new, maybe it's just been a hidden one, of George Latimer, Andrew Stewart Cousins, Ken Jenkins, Christopher Johnson. They gave her this system. Indivisible, let's not forget Eileen O'Connor and Indivisible and their machine. And that's probably where Rocky from Bronx River Road is from. And they went and got all these positions. So to me, what should be done is they should make it to where every candidate has to be the one to collect their signature. They have to go and meet that person. So many people were confused, were fooled, were bamboozled, were told if they didn't sign this petition, they would not get food. And that is why they do these food distributions. They do all this at different locations to gather information, data harvesting. They learn from Google and Facebook, right? That's what makes them so valuable, data harvesting. So these food distribution sites are like Facebook, like Instagram. Come here. We'll give you something to satisfy a want, or well, in this case, the food is a need, but the social media is a want. But with the food is, we'll satisfy a need you have while collecting your data. So we could utilize that for our elections, so we could remain in power and ensure that no one that truly is going to champion for the people, like Freddie Vasquez, stands a chance to become the next mayor of the city of Yonkers. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. I'm up out of here, folks. I love you, beautiful people. And listen, we can disrupt the system. Write my name in there in the general election, because Corazon is going all the way to the general. She's already guaranteed. She's got the working family party line. So if Spano wins, there will be a three-way race between Moranti, Spano, and Corazon, and the write-in candidate, Freddie Vasquez. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a beautiful night, people. I love you. Thank you very much for supporting. Please share the podcast, and thank you to all of the new followers, viewers, supporters. I love you, including you, Steve. You know who.
Freddie wins.
I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Your truth lives, the corruption dies. Keeping it fair and honest.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
That's right, folks. This is Basement Politics. I am Freddie Vasquez. Thank you very much. I'm going to continue doing the podcast, that's for sure. Blessings to you too. Thank you. Blessings to everyone. May you have a beautiful Friday. Anthony DiMaggio will be joining me, the guy that they don't want. I tried to make peace. I did. I tried. It didn't work out. But anyway, folks, that's your show for tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Think about who we're going to vote for.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
Freddie wins.
Oh, man. Soon I should be having some more sound bites that are going to be very good, I hear. I can't wait. Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I am the people's choice. I'm going to be going around, actually, and doing a speaking tour. So I want to make sure I announce that. That's right. I'm going to be going around to different locations, and I want to speak to you. I want the people to come out. See, politicians don't usually listen to the people. We feel that we're not heard. We're not given consideration. They do things without giving us enough time to process it, to respond to it, So I want to hear what people have to say. What is it that the people of Yonkers want? What is it that they need? So I'm going to be going around to different locations throughout the city, probably 4 locations, maybe 5 locations due to different districts. One place. Join me for some coffee, some light snacks, maybe bagels. I'll let you know, but I need you to come out. Come join me. I don't care if it's 5 of you. I don't care if it's 10. It's not about showing that I can pull 1 million people out. This is about hearing what people have to say and caring about what they need and making sure that we get it out there. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. I'm out here for real.
Freddie wins.
Join me for the Freddie Vasquez speaking tour as I engage members of the community.